Well, thank you very much, and welcome. And we are looking at the EC being sued over special voting. And one will say, what at all is happening? Are we even going to get to vote come December 7th? Well, the Chief Justice, Georgina Wood, is saying that no problem. Whatever happens, he's going to clear all these suits before December 7th. But what is happening with regards to special voting that the EC has been dragged to court? And there's a lot of technical, moral, and all implications to this issue, and that's what's on the table today. It's one of those cases that you really, really want to listen attentively and find out why now if we haven't done it before. My name is Nana Sakwa the fourth. Let me cut it short and go and come, and also your host. When I come back, I'm actually talking to a plaintiff in the matter, and I'll have a lawyer on the phone. Don't move. Well, thank you very much. Let me just give you a little gist of what's happening, right? Now, in today's Tuesday, 25th October, in the Daily Guide, there's a story that says EC sued again. Now, I'll read just a little bit so that you have an idea of what we are talking about. Now, the Electoral Commission has been sued once again, this time over the conduct of special voting reserved for certain public officials, security agencies, and other people who have election-related assignments on December 7th. The new court action against the EC is asking the electoral body to declare the results of special voting ahead of the main election to allay any fear of tampering with the ballots. The plaintiff, Dr. Kwame Amwakotofo, Benjamin Arthur, and Adreba Abrefa Damwa argued that Section 23 of CI 94, the law which regulates the conduct of the 2016 general election, is inconsistent with Article 49 of the 1992 Constitution. Let me end it there. But with me in the studio is Mr. Ben Arthur, who is no stranger to the show, is a conflict resolution and labor consultant and something else.
I'm a practicing civil engineer.
He's a practicing civil engineer. They always leave you out, and I know there's some more beef that they don't have. I know there's some more beef that they don't have. Practicing civil engineers.
I know the journalists, they love to leave that one out.
You see, but you worked hard for it.
Oh,
probably worked even harder.
So much, yes, so much.
Probably worked even harder. Joining us on the phone will be lawyer Yaopon, who's a private legal practitioner and also lecturer at Central University, Chartered. He always likes to say Chartered. But let me start in here. Now, from the brief that I just read, and we all know that journalists and security couples and stuff seem to vote before the voting day so they can relax and report and monitor and guard the thing. But according to this, if I read it, then we wait, and then on the main day we add it. However, yourself and two other plaintiffs are saying that no. For this year, after the voting, let's count it. Now, we've been voting since 92, so one will ask, why now? Why don't we just follow the same protocol?
Well, thank you, Nana, for hosting me, and let me say good evening to all your cherished viewers as well. It's not because it is now. It's because, in my candid opinion, that is the way it has to be. Ghana prides itself as the beacon of democracy in West Africa and Africa. And I sincerely believe that we are a shining example. If you look at countries around us and worldwide, early voters, in our case, which we have titled special voting, is counted. In fact, some of them, as you vote, it tallies automatically. We have also had an EC that promises us of a transparent and credible elections. All of us in this country want a free and fair elections. We want a transparent election. We want a credible election. And above all, we want a very peaceful election. If I look at the early warning signs and the context of these elections, we cannot probably assume that it has been the same as we have had in 1992, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 12, and 2016. We cannot conveniently say that they are the same because the contexts have changed. Even the legal regime that regulated all these elections, there has been a significant variation. If you take the 1992 CIs all the way from 2012, the special voters were not just restricted to security services and people in the media or those who had something to do in during the election day, but it had to do with anybody who is even going to be at work and for one reason or the other might not be available on the D-Day to vote. What you needed, according to the previous CIs, was just to put in an application, get your superior to affirm or to confirm that indeed on that D-Day you'll be at post for one reason or the other. Take a medical practitioner, a doctor, as a typical example. Take a nurse as a typical example. If they have a patient who is in critical condition that ought to be attended to, what are you going to do? Are they going to be disenfranchised because they have chosen to be doctors? So it's not just the security services and media and the presiding officers. It has always been that even if for religious reasons the elections were fixed on a day that any particular person or a leader might not be able to vote, the CI in those days made room. But it has changed significantly. So from the point of view of contest, we cannot say that we are dealing with the same elections. Of course, in this particular election, maybe in those elections, I was not enlightened like now, because I've had training from conflict, peace, and security. I'm an ADR practitioner. I practice. I can know and analyze conflict. I can tell about 7, 8 early warning signs that motivate me to take such an action.
Okay, before we go there, now I'm going to take a quick break, but before I take the quick break, let's just find out what Article 49 says in the 1992 Constitution. Now it says that any public election or referendum, voting shall be by secret ballot. 2, immediately after the close of the poll, the presiding officer shall, in the presence of such of the candidates or their representatives in their polling and their polling agents as are present, proceed to count at the polling station the ballot papers of the station, the ballot papers of that station, and record the votes cast in favor of each candidate or question. 3, the presiding officer, the candidates or their representatives, and in the case of a referendum, the parties contesting on their agents and their polling agents, if any, shall then sign the declaration stating the polling station and the number of votes cast in favor of each candidate or question. And the presiding officer shall there and then announce the results of the voting at the polling station before commuting them to the returning officer. 4, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, an issue of determination by referendum shall not be taken to be determined unless at least 35% of the persons entitled to vote at the referendum voted, and of the vote cast at least 70% voted in favor of an issue. But this is not a referendum, so that's we're going to take a quick break there and come back and find out that if we have to, does it apply to early voting, or does this apply to just the main voting? Don't go.
Was free to speak, and you count the ballot into it. by the close of the day or the period set by the Electoral Commission. Once that period elapses, the ballot that is cast must be counted, and the figure for the candidate declared there and then.
Lawyer, but you see, here's the case where we haven't finished. It's just that you guys came early. I mean, generally, we haven't finished voting. It's just that you guys have voted early. So, I mean, can't you argue that, well, let's wait, when we are done, we'll count it all together? You just had the privilege of coming to vote early.
No, the point is, what about, for example, last time when some polling stations had their vote postponed?
That's right.
In the middle way, did we wait for did the others wait for them, for all of them to be counted the next day? Mind you, when the period set for the day for the vote to be, the act of voting to be done, or the counting does not start simultaneously at all the polling stations. Some start early, others later, still others even the next day.
Others might still be in the queue.
I think that, in my view, 49 is quite clear. Wherever votes are cast, that place should be declared, it should be known as a polling station. And the vote that is cast at the polling station must be counted. And once it is counted, it must be declared, so that the candidates or their representatives will know, this is how much my rep got, this is how much my representative got. So for me, at the end of the poll, which is stated there in 49, does not mean at the end of the general election. My view, it is at the end of the voting at that particular polling station. And the law is that it should be immediately counted and declared.
I see. So has this hasn't been the norm, though?
Well, I have said time and again that the fact that a wrong has gained currency does not make it a right. It is true that over the years we have been declaring the vote cast by the media and those group of people, and we have been keeping it till the day of the general election before it is announced or declared. The fact that that has been done over the years and appears to be the norm and has gained currency, in my view, does not make it a law.
Doc, let me before you continue, I mean, I put the same question to Ben in here. Because of the way we get so politically drunk and overly excited, I mean, is it not going to get us all agitated? Can you imagine if the government woke up one morning to realize that, well, the security forces are voting against me, or the media is voting against me? Wouldn't they get too aggressive? Or vice versa, wouldn't the opposition get too aggressive?
Nana, with all due respect, I'm not sure the question is coming from you, but with respect, I think that sometimes we need to recognize that the people of Ghana are discerning. And that the fact that a small group of people, let's say 2% of the voting population, have together given one party a majority vote, should not in any way drive anyone to just vote, to change his mind and vote for somebody they think will not be competent. Mind you, this group of people, they don't vote by representation. They vote as individuals. So it is possible for the generality of the security forces to vote this way or that way. But I think that we may be, in a way, diminishing the the discerning capacity of Ghanaians, if we were to push the argument that once the security forces, the media, and so on, majority of them had voted this way, then majority of the generality of Ghanaians are also just going to vote that way just because they have done so, or that because the security personnel did not vote for the government is now going to ask it to show them where power lies. I think if you are a government or anyone contesting or who intends to contest for an election, and you don't recognize that a large number of people will not vote for you. After all, the Constitution didn't say 100% or 80%. It said 50% plus one person. 50% plus one person. That is why you can get somebody losing the election with 5 million and another winning with about 524,000 or 5.24,000 or so. So it just have to recognize that we are discerning as individuals. We know what hardship is. We know what goodness, if you like, is. If the economy is good, you know, that is what you care to exercise your mind to vote according to those conditions. Otherwise, I would be surprised that any person of voting age in Ghana will vote this way or that way just because a small, minute number, albeit very powerful group, have voted this way or that way. That one I differ.
Okay, Lawyer, hold on for me. Let me come to studio now. I know Ben is a conflict resolution expert as well. So, Ben, this is maybe I don't know if I'm diverting a little bit, but you know, there's this perception after the Supreme Court case that now you can't win at the court anyway. You have to win at the ballot box.
Yeah, you saw my hand.
Now you have to win at the ballot box. I mean, does it come into play in terms of looking at your flashpoint that look, well then?
Yeah, yes, because when I was just about finishing my early warning signs, another question came. It's part of them. In fact, for the 2012 presidential election disputes in the Supreme Court, it was only one day that I did not attend. Out of my interest in conflict resolution and this, I was there checking, reading, listening to even after that sentiment of people and the rest. But anyway, Nana, the truth of the matter is that we have overhyped the fact that early voting is for security people. How many security personnel are we going to deploy per polling station? Averagely 2. So times 29,000 polling stations, we are looking at 58,000. Now look at the party agents, 2 of them per polling station. If they should also vote, that is equally 58,000. Let's come to the media. We have over 300 radio stations in this country. Say, on the average, that they also send 2. Look at the number. So the security people, when it comes to even the masses of people who vote, it is not a majority in it. And it is even a secret vote. What happens, I mean, what should happen if you should get to know that even these security people voted this way? It is difficult because it's a secret ballot. You cannot say that if I'm an Army General BA, you can basically go inside the box and pick my ballot paper and come and tell me that I voted this way. Again, I like asking questions, and pardon me for that. Nana, the prisoners are going to vote. Who is taking care of the prisoners? And must the prisoners say that because the wardens are taking care of us, we should also vote this way or not that way? Or because the way and manner that we are going to vote will be known, we shouldn't go and vote? Where will be the ballot box for the prisoners? Is it going to be in the general place where the prisoners will also go and queue and mix with the people and vote, or the polling station will be exclusively for them? Everybody needs protection. And those of us who vote at the polling station, our list is known. Our names and numbers and particulars are known. So you can pick virtually every polling station and say that this particular polling station voted in this way. In fact, on the D-Day of voting, some people will finish their voting, and by the close of 5, they have started counting whilst others are in queue. Don't forget that our electoral laws allows anybody who by 5 or before 5 is in queue. So provided that there are 800 people in a queue, for maybe the machine was not functioning well, there were hiccups and delays here and there, or maybe it rained small, the people went somewhere ahead and later came, and before 5, the people were in the queue. You cannot say it's 5 o'clock. So they should all go. They will be voting. Whilst they are voting, others are being declared. Whilst people are even in the queue voting, others have declared theirs. So are we going to say that because the voting pattern of some people will be known, we should not have transparency? But what I seek with the action that we have taken is to ensure that we take away the possible triggers and contributing factors that will put violence in the hands of people. What can cause people to go to court and dispute and delay our time? I want to make sure that that thing, as far as these conditions are concerned, as far as Article 49 is concerned, we all must help. And I don't think there's anybody who stands to lose in having an election declared. In fact, the EC itself wants a credible election. You want it, I want it, opposition people want it, people in government want it. So there is nothing that should bar us from having, a very credible election. For me, it is better to have the triggers removed than to ask that we'll go and keep the ballot box somewhere whereby the presiding officer who presided over the elections does not even know the content of what has been kept. Nana, maminka twi kakra. Watu tumbo de amami. Eye miensa. Wachichira no. Upe na unim se eye miensa. Ose menana ji nefa koshe dampo mu ho. Na chire mini a uba diama. You gave it to me, 3 of them. I didn't know. I took it there. And then the day of accountability came, you asked me to bring it. Maybe Nana, out of joy or out of grief, forgot that he gave me 3. And says that it is 5. I'm now a thief. So once we want to have a transparent election, we have to take away any possible doubts in the minds of people. And I can tell you, I don't need to say this, I'm not a prophet of doom. Even language itself, misuse of language has put people to war. Let alone talk of an election where somebody has won and is in parliament with 3 votes. Because the special election has 2 components. It has 2 components. We have people who are voting in a constituency that they don't belong. And we have another group of people who are voting in the same constituency, but because they cannot on the day of voting be in their own polling station. So they are voting in their own constituency, but they are voting in a different or at a different polling station. And we have people who have been migrated or who will be migrated to a different polling station or constituency altogether. They must also vote. So one leg of it, you can declare the presidential. Another leg, you cannot declare the parliamentary. So it has 2 connotations to it. And I'm telling you, if when it comes to parliamentary, 1 vote difference makes you a winner, we must as well know that the CJ's 17 courts have not been set for nothing. The CJ and the Judicial Service, they have read the early warning signs, and they too, they know that this particular election, if we don't take away and help the system to be sanitized, we are going to have trouble. Because 1992 up to now, when have we had 17 special courts for electoral dispute? It tells you that we are not the only people intelligent enough to foresee. Others are foreseeing what could happen.
Let's go straight to Council. Council.
Yes, sir, Nana.
17, justices all standing by, literally waiting for wherever the
red alert,
wherever the monsoon will come from. They are standing by. But I mean, do you think we can clear all these cases before the 7th of December? lawyer you go to saying that, listen, the high courts don't hear my case, I'm going straight to Supreme Court, and there are all these other cases. So, I mean, do you think we can clear these cases before the 7th?
Interesting, but except that the question presupposes that we are even aware of all the cases. Because until yesterday we didn't know that another one was going to come up at the Supreme Court. You know, there's already one also pending at the Supreme Court. I think that was heard last week, and judgment will be given sometime later. So even the ones we know, we cannot really be sure that even after the High Court has disposed of it, who will be satisfied and decide to waive their right to resort to other judicial remedies. We cannot even be sure, except that we will just hope and pray that for some reason, after the case has been disposed of, it's possible that it may go against the Electoral Commission, and they may also want to pursue further judicial remedies. You never know. So we just hope, except that I think he has taught us a very bitter lesson the hard way, that we should not be doing things getting close to the deadline. And because, and by the 7th of December, we have not held the election. Clearly, we will have to amend the Constitution before we can hold parliamentary and presidential elections. That's how I understand Constitution.
That's a big, that's a major issue.
Yes, but all said and done, I think we need to be grateful to the judiciary. I was privileged to be at the forum yesterday, and I was so amazed as to their preparedness, their fortitude. And fortunately for us, we have members of the judiciary that are fearless, they are bold, they will apply the law, their conscience, their oath, and their religion, so to speak. So there's no problem with the determination. The issue is even if some of the affected people will at least even commence it as early enough, so it can be disposed of either in their favor or against them. But the case that some may be marking time, and there is no limitation period, unlike a electoral dispute where times are fixed, 21 days or so, in either case. This one, there's no time limit. If somebody wants to be mischievous,
so on the 6th of December, you could go to court?
It's totally right.
Yeah, if he goes there with him for injunction, unless the court will quickly just dispose of it in the night. So they will not dispose of it in the afternoon. People will go in the evening and file another injunction or a fresh matter. I mean, we just have to look at the general national interest. When you match the national interest against your individual interest or rights, the good of the generality of the people, which is the brief understanding of the national interest or public interest, may want to prevail over one's individual rights just for the sake of the state and the generality of the people. Some of them can consider that. Those that can be amicably settled, and that's one point that came out yesterday. I was quite happy by ADR or by negotiation, by amicable settlement. Those ones can still be done. The EC can still open their doors. Of course, there are some we relate to them very serious criminal offenses that the EC may not, or even the parties may not have the capacity to resolve at their level, because we all have the right as citizens to ensure that we commission of an offense, and when one is committed, appropriate agencies are informed. So there are some that may not be able to settle among themselves, but those they can. I think that especially those who haven't gone to court, perhaps they may have a second bite, and see if they could not resolve their issues.
Lawyer, let me just move a little bit. I mean, we've been voting since '92, and yes, every now and then, the odd one or two people will go to court and seek a clarification. But I mean, are there too many court cases just at this time?
I couldn't hear your last.
I was saying that, we've been voting since 92, and, most of the time, you have one or two cases in court, seeking a, interpretation or clarification. But this particular, it's just been riddled with too many court cases.
But Nana, I think we are better off having a program like this riddled with legal suits than riddled with clubs, machetes, and guns, and the bombs, and so on.
Perfect.
It is a more civilized way of settling cases and disputes and controversies. At least, the good thing is that in all cases, people against whom decisions are made by the court accept it, and they don't go back to the crude way of taking up arms. I think that's the good thing, and that is why we need to hammer and highlight that even when you disagree with the court, be reminded that you have no other option than to accept and act with the terms of the judgment or the orders of the court. Whilst we would have wished that we had not gotten here, we still have to be thankful to God that we have chosen a more civilized way of resolving issues and not combat in terms of ammunition, insult, and cheering ourselves up. And I say that if we decide, and look, Nana, from now on, more people are accepting that the judiciary, among all the branches of government, is the best institution which protects the rights, guarantees, and further enforces the rights and the liberties of the individual. People have lost hope in some of the other state institutions. It is only the judiciary, in my view, that has stood up to the occasion, and people are just going there to have their rights vindicated or otherwise suffer a liability for it. So it is not bad in itself. But now, what we have to also explore is these other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which are also becoming part of the mechanisms for the resolution of bilateral disputes.
Okay.
We should explore those other mechanisms as well. But for now, this is what we have.
Okay, hold on, let me catch up.
Go to court.
Lawyer, hold on, let me catch up. Yeah.
Just to conclude.
Yeah.
I thought your people have said that so lawyers too will be having food on their table. That's on the lifestyle.
Well,
that's
this one
that's
says,
an employment opportunity.
Look on the bright side. This one said there are more suits yet to come her way. This is just the beginning. Adam Seidu is sending that in. This one says there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. That is boiled down of winning votes. Imoro from Tamale. Okay, let me catch one more, then go for a break and come and continue the messages. Good evening, Anna. I now know why about 50% of members of the MPP are lawyers. No wonder you are where you are. God will not hand over this country into your Masood's hands. Now, this band is not a conflict revolution anything. He's a war maker. What are we turning into? What are we turning into? Anything court Abba Abeku in Mankasim. Let me take a quick break and come back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and the Made in Ghana Fair. With support from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Joy Prime TV brings you the maiden edition of the Made in Ghana Fair. Come and experience and appreciate our beautiful Ghanaian culture, and exhibitors display their locally made artifacts. There will be good music, tasty food, refreshing drinks, all made in Ghana. Make it a point to be there at the Junction Mall, Nungwa, from 4th to 5th November 2016 from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. And if you want to be part of this event, pick up a form from the desk of Multi TV or call 0302 211 680 or 0243 115 109 and book your stand. The Made in Ghana Fair is brought to you by Joy Prime and sponsored by Almanac Company Limited, Akriti Ghana, Eduana Hene Rice by Winco, and supported by Home Foods Processing Ghana Limited. Our media partners are Hits FM, Adom FM, Joy FM, Asempa FM, Love FM, and Inshra FM. Made in Ghana Fair, you don't want to miss that. Ben,
yeah,
yes, is your war maker,
yeah,
not
a peacemaker. Well, let me respond to Abeku's Mankesim saying that I'm a war maker. I'm not, and I want my friend, if he is watching, and like-minded people to know that it is within the capacity of the Supreme Court to interpret, and it is better to get it interpreted than to leave that area as a gray area where people will feed fat on it and begin to use knives, clubs, bottles, and then guns. It's safer to get it interpreted and to remove any possibility that can create doubts in the minds of people to get to a very tight-neck situation where violence becomes an option. You know, when people interact in such situations as an election, we have only two results. A result that gives us cooperation, or a result that gives us an exit through conflict. And we have cherished the results of a cooperation. So we want to remove the conflict aspect. I want him to understand that.
Elections were conducted in 3 different dates and results were declared same. Electoral Commission should not create confusion in this peaceful country of ours.
I sincerely, I want to be sincere once again, that I do not, in my own opinion, think that it's been deliberate on the part of EC not to declare results, from special voting. It's been a trend. But a trend, as the lawyer said, no matter how long it stays, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
This one is from Guinea Conakry, John Smart Boafo. Says, Nana, please, I think your panelist is suggesting a very good move. It will take away all doubts from the minds of everybody. And he's agreeing with you. This case, okay, good.
Nana, I've always asked that this move, who stands to lose if we count the ballots, the votes after polls, immediately after polls? Nobody loses. But who loses if we don't count it? Some heads could go. Some relationships could be sacrificed.
So you are saying that the possibility of voting, taking the box away, and then bringing it back to say that there was 10 here, 5 here, that's a bit tricky. It's a recipe for dispute and for disaster. Nana, we are in this country where people are even witnessing the counting. In the writing, you can see 27-0. I hope you understand. 27. Yes. How did you put it? You are seeing it. People are watching. But people can write all manner of things. People can do all manner of things. So you take away the avenue this case
to create confusion.
This is another text message. This case will go down into the Ghanaian legal archives as one with no merits whatsoever. I sense it will be decided on its first hearing and thrown out immediately. Can you imagine what a group of coup plotters would do should they know that security service, who form a major part of the special voting group, are not in support of the government after the results have been declared and went against government? This case is a classical example of much ado about nothing. Berima Kubaji in Jeddah.
Nana, let me disabuse the mind of that individual. the special voting is not for security service people alone. And if you take the number of people, I don't have the statistics here, but I've taken time to look at it. If you take the number of people who have been voting, in this, apart from 1992, if you take the number of people who have been voting in the special voting, the security people are not even in the majority. They are not in the majority at all, let alone even establish a trend that they, after all, even in Burma camp, there's a police station. Even in Burma camp, there's a police station where the people vote and get it counted there and then. Even in the camp. In some of the police barracks, they also vote. Their wives also vote. And it's counted there and then.
I think Emma from Brekum says, I think we should rather think of where to secure the ballot boxes after the special voting.
Good.
I don't buy keeping them at the district assemblies. The safekeeping of these ballot boxes.
The police headquarters?
I don't know where Emma in
or
wants it to be kept. Says, I am sure that a lot of thinking had gone into the decision not to count and declare the result. Let us not in desperation make the mistake of failing for these litigants whose only interest may be to have their names in the news. You did not add your name. But the one big question, if you can reply to that, what do we stand to lose or gain?
Yes.
It's
an analysis if you are looking at a conflict situation, purely from conflict situation. You have to look. Who are the beneficiaries if we don't count it? And who are the beneficiaries if we count it? In whose interest?
This one says, please, Nana, in a situation where the result is declared and either NDC or MPP get 0 as against 10 at a polling station of security services, what happens? Morality counts in law. Thanks. Do we have the lawyer on the phone still? Do we have the lawyer?
Yeah, I think he's referring to a maxim.
Okay, we don't have him. Okay. So that's somebody saying that, that's Ernest asking, what if, you vote at Burma camp or something and, comes up at 0. But this conversation, I'm sure, would continue. But let me give you the last word before we go.
Thank you once again. It is not a suit in bad faith. And I want people watching to know that Ghana is an example that we need to continue. The time has come again for us to entrench and enhance our democracy and to make sure that after the voting, Ghana is a peaceful country. And what I seek to do together with my other colleagues is to make sure that the possible triggers and the landmines that can push us to use violence and to dispute unnecessarily are removed.
Thank you very much. But as I always give you the number at the end of the show, it's 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. That's Dante's Fashion. And they give me my shirts for the show. And they do give me really, really swag shirts. And I'm sure you're going to have a nice swag shirt for yourself. They don't only do these prints. They do so many things, both male and female. So give them a call and just place your order. But thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
And guys at home, thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. But let's all think about it, to declare or not to declare. Let's wait for the court to say.